Alright guys, HyDra again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The second day of the Major 4 qualifiers and big results this evening and some absolute slamages going down once the series really got underway. OpTic Texas versus the Miami Heretics. Once again, no Vikul, no problem for OpTic in terms of slamming these guys on the curb. Pred continues his absolute domination against this one team. They hate these guys for some reason or another and they will simply not relent in the domination of this particular match that they played for many times this season now. They've slammed them basically every single time after that famous encounter way back in January. Lots of storyline to dive into today. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, just interesting question I thought for you guys really. Real talk. Which COD Pro has the most aura? This has been the word that's been doing the rounds as of late. And well, what do we think? This is either current pros in the league as it stands or all time. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I saw this question, there was one name that came to mind immediately, and, well, he actually is on here, and that is Formal. I think that in his heyday, when Formal was playing COD, and even to be fair, I think this is still true in Halo, there's a feeling when Formal is on the main stage, and certainly when he's playing his best COD, that this guy cannot be messed with, right? Like, I think the other players feel it when they play Formal in the server. Like, I think the players get it in the game, especially on like a championship Sunday or something. I think there's a feeling in the venue as well as, oh my god, that's Formal, like there he is, you know, the big man. And I always kind of thought that was the case with Formal during his playing days. It obviously is also true with Scump and Kremp and Clay and like the other top guys. But to me, Formal always had a little bit something special. But intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below on what kind of pick you would make. Certainly over the last couple of years of his career, it might be Crimsix to be fair, for what he was up to during the Vanguard year, for example. The matches though get underway this evening. We'll talk about Ravens versus the Subliners tomorrow, but we got into Gorillas versus the Los Angeles Thieves tonight, and wow, Gorillas, what an interesting team. They'd taken down Ravens yesterday in a great spot, got to 120 points. If they get this win on the board, they get another 10 points on. It's looking possible for them to make it to the World Championship. Now, it's possible that everyone, bar effectively Boston, I think that Doug Lieb did his analysis and he said that out of 10,000 simulations, there are now 15 where Boston make it. So, yeah, it's still possible, but obviously it's not happening. So, Gorillas still could. This was a great chance. And JoeDeceives started off map 1. I think he was 4 in 19. It was certainly 4 in 16, 4 in 17. He was going for the Zoomer, the 4 in 23. But then he decided, oh, actually, you know what? I will get some kills. He has a big comeback in the second half of the game, and Los Angeles Thieves actually bring the comeback. This was so bad though for Gorillas. Like, there was a couple of rotations they will want back, but honestly, as soon as Thieves started slaying, it was kind of job done. And then Kremp comes in with a big 3-piece, right? So this Thieves team, we think they were going to make a change, or at least it was considered. There were rumours as to whether they were actually ever going to do it, or whether it was just rumours or speculation or whatever, whether they actually really thought about it or not. I think they're probably right to believe there isn't a clear upgrade they can go for. And I also believe that what's happened with Vegas this season has made it so that teams aren't so willing to make changes like Vegas made, right? Minus Purge plus a Seam has, you know, kind of ruined their team in many ways and may have ruined their chances, Vegas, of qualifying for this year's World Championship in many respects. So I think that teams like Thieves don't want to make the mistake that Vegas made, and as a result they prefer to stick it out to when there's no clear upgrade, and I think they're not wrong to do so. This though was crazy, and Thieves, I thought for sure, were winning this game of Control, and they did everything they needed. Right here, this is a 1 versus 5 for Diamond Con. JoeDeceives is a bit weak. Nastie, I think, is a bit weak as well. The kills are wrong here because there was reset cheese here. So I kind of want to say, all right, maybe Thieves, you know, a bit of replay cheese. But nonetheless, it's a 1 versus 5. They did so well to get to this position here, Thieves. And Diamond Con comes in, gets a 2-piece, makes it a 1 versus 3, but there's no time. And Gorillas win the round. So, you know, by like a second to spare. So it was kind of remarkable. That one was kind of a mistake on Thieves' side. But to me, it was like, okay, whatever. They made it close. They nearly won this round. They then dominated the next defense. They took it to a round 5. But then they lost the round 5 on their defense. And this we just see so often from teams, especially the teams that aren't so good, but even the teams that are good. For whatever reason, round 5, invasion control, that is when offense tends to win rounds, because the defensive team says, okay, well, this is our only round, we don't have to worry about ticks or anything anymore, so we're happy to give up B, and all of a sudden the guy gets through to A, and it's a bit of a mess, and it's all going wrong. And you see this again and again and again, and Thieves kind of just got put down on their defense here to lose the control again. It's like, if you want to be a top team, if you want to be a contender, you can't have these type of moments, right? They made a big comeback game 1, they dominated the game 2 pretty much, and then they choke the control and give all the momentum back the way of Gorillas. And Octane was sitting here thinking on his vacation, thinking, oh my god, like there's no way that this Gorillas curse against Thieves is going to here continue. And Nature obviously was wondering, okay, are we going to make it out of this one alive? They do. It goes game 5 in the ends, and to be fair, they dominate the game 5. JoeDeceives especially completely took over, goes 13-2, got all the kills, and after a slow start to the series, comes back strong in the end. So, you know, I was pretty impressed actually by Thieves. Like, excluding again the choke of the invasion control and the fact that the momentum was then carried into the map 4, they did perform pretty well. Like, once JoeDeceives started to shoot back, obviously on the game 1 and certainly the game 5, then they actually looked like a really good team. Kremp had his moments, Ghosty was doing well, Nastie had some pretty impactful moments as well, so tough loss for the Gorillas. Certainly that game 1 will be haunting them, but another game 5 win for Thieves. It's just their control they need to sort out, because if they can start to win some of those on LAN, it's going to be a different story. Here we go then, Vegas versus Toronto. Certainly an interesting graphic of, you know, the potential graphics that could have been chosen here by the Vegas Legion. Bottom of the barrel, they say. They're playing Ultra. Of course, Ultra had already lost this season so far, this stage so far. They lost yesterday, shockingly, to the Seattle Surge. This game, though, after game 1, was pretty comfortable. Vegas looked okay. It's kind of tough to say, right, because this Ultra team, you don't really know where they are online. We know where they are on LAN, but they didn't look anywhere near really as good online in the preceding weeks of their own major than they did when they actually turned up to the LAN, especially when they played FaZe, for example, and took them down, and they looked great, really, until they played OpTic in the finals. Vegas, tough to know what to expect from them either. They've made the change now with Johnny coming in. Johnny, I thought, did a good job today. Like, he certainly held his own. But Geo had a bit of a step backwards. So this was the thing, when Purge was there, sorry, not a scene, when Purge was there, you would almost always get Attached, Nero, Geo all playing well at the same time. Purge would almost always have, you know, 0.8, 0.9. But now the team, it's a bit more inconsistent in terms of who's actually turning up and delivering. And maybe that's a bad thing in some respects. Scrappy wasn't exactly a happy man after game 1. Like, he definitely feels like they should have won that more convincingly than they did. And they won the game 2 relatively convincingly. Insight nearly clutched this, by the way, which is a pretty ridiculous one. Envoy comes in, he gets shut down. And Envoy had, you know, pretty good series as well. Just because Envoy and Insight were the 2 players to look for. Envoy goes down here. Insight gets this kill off the heady. Trades the second. Goes for the ninja defuse on Attach, but Attach is just slightly too smart for that. And just about Attach climbs up just in time and gets the kill with, you know, half a second roughly on the clock until the defuse was about to come through. But a 6-3 in the ends. CleanX takes over this map 10-4. Geo with a rough one. Ultra got up 2-0, and quite quickly it was a 3-0 in favour of Ultra. So a good bounce back from them. An expected bounce back from them, and it was good to see all the players playing well of Ultra, right? Especially because Envoy and Insight have been feeling the pressure, shall we say, from the fan base after the result in Toronto itself. But then again, they are playing at Vegas, who probably are not the best team right now. So, bit of a grain of salt series result, I would say, until we see a little bit more what Vegas are going to be capable of. But obviously, we saw this graphic earlier on, and then Toronto say Air Legion trying to make it to champs, and well, it's not ended up so well for the time being. So, a pretty quick series. Geo with a relatively rough one, and just impressive performances across the board, I thought, from Toronto in terms of the slaying. Scrappy with only a 1.0, so yeah, rare you see that, but still positive, or at least 1+, which he almost always is, and the most kills and the most deaths joint in the entire lobby on an AR, so that's just what he tends to do. But this was the dramatic series in many ways. OpTic versus Miami Heretics. There was lots of talk, even we mentioned earlier today, where Vikul was today. I was obviously staying tuned to his social media to see, was he there at Wembley for the Champions League final? I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe we'll find out over the coming days, but you know, we talked about it a bit on the pre-show, the fact that ErikBooM did a tweet and basically said, you know, I'm not going to sub into a series that I wasn't even meant to be playing in, and then he deleted that tweet, and there's been lots of back and forth. But whatever the occasion, maybe Vikul thought, you know what, you know, if he's got personal stuff he's dealing with, then, you know, hope everything's okay. But if he was deciding, all right, let me just take some time off to go do something else that I want to do, he might have thought, you know what, losing that OpTic series, we're going to lose it anyway, right? Who cares if I'm there or not? We're going to play OpTic, we're probably going to lose, and, you know, that's 0 points on the board, which you know, he's not wrong if he thinks that way, but it's not maybe the mentality that you'd want if you're Miami. But of course, that's a question and just speculation anyway, really. But Miami do make the change. Vikul is gone. Purge is in for this series. They played a sub-base, map 1. And as soon as I saw the sub-base, I thought, are we sure about this, Miami? Are we sure this is the right thing to do? Because I wasn't so convinced that playing OpTic on sub-base, if you're Miami, was necessarily a good idea. But yeah, look, we get into the series. The search and destroy was what took Miami far at the major, right? Obviously beating FaZe in the search when they played in winners, then winning the searches in the losers bracket. They played OpTic in the major. OpTic only beat them 3-1. They lost the search in that series, OpTic. If they'd have lost that 6-star search or 6-star hardpoint game 4, who knows what would have happened in map 5 on a 7-map win streak in search and destroy. But of course, that's with the whole team with Vikul there. So with Purge, it was unlikely to ever be the same. I think Purge did a solid job, and fair play to Purge even stepping in, just because I'm sure there's some players that would have said, you know what, guys, I'm actually not even interested. You're playing OpTic, you're going to get embarrassed, I'm going to get embarrassed. It's not a good sign for anyone. But I think Purge has a good mentality. He comes in and says, you know what, I'll try my best with these guys. We'll, you know, see what we can do. And it wasn't, you know, absolutely embarrassing. It was pretty dominant. But, you know, I think that Miami held their own, at least for the first part of map 1. And then OpTic had a listening and they completely took over the rest of the game, which is exactly what I expected to see. Of course, the increased radius now and the significantly increased area of damage effect with the cruise missile makes it, well, it was already potent. Now it is an absolutely deadly weapon. And Pred was getting a cruise is now actually a really big deal. I would say it was a big deal before. Now it's a pretty damn big deal because 2 pieces are more possible than they previously were. And OpTic end up taking the game on the second rotation and they win the sub-base again. They were 10-0 on sub-base going into this game. They may lose it at some point, but Toronto tried to challenge them on it. They lost on a couple of occasions. FaZe don't even play the map, so who's going to beat OpTic on this map? Tough to say. Not Miami. They go down here, and you know, maybe with Vikul it could have been a different story, but I thought Purge did a respectable job. Of course, they brought him to the facility to play with the guys. Thought it was cool to see. But then the high-rise search, and with their full-strength team, this is a map that I would say Miami are even probably slightly favoured and a good map for them. OpTic got better on that map for sure during stage 3, but still not their best search and destroy, I wouldn't say, and it's been a great one recently for Miami. But no, they go down 2-0 in the series. Dashy dropped some crazy damage numbers this map actually here as well, 2200 for him, and the dominance continues. I will say as well, Pred's map 1 started out like double negative, but I was never worried. He's in my fantasy team. I was never worried Pred's going to turn it around as he did, and he went positive again, as he always does, on that sub-base hardpoint. His record, by the way, against Miami is flat out ridiculous in terms of raw performance right now, and the control was very comfortable again for OpTic. This was never even competitive, and the bodies were getting shot towards the end of the game, so it was a swift GG. These Miami guys must hate playing OpTic. They've played them so many times this year already. They play them at the majors, they play them online every single time, and ever since Vikul threw up the 3-0 sign at the start of the season, these OpTic guys, especially Pred, has absolutely loved putting them in the dirt every time they play. Even with poor Purge subbing in for a series, he was absolutely no remorse, no mercy, effectively. And as he says after the series, GG's Miami, 1-3-0. Miami will pay, because it's a reference to the classic Kenny meme, when obviously maybe Los Angeles Thieves with Kenny the last couple of years wouldn't be frying, wouldn't be doing so well, but then when they played OpTic, they'd always beat OpTic, right? And it was Kenny was the meme was OpTic will pay for whatever had happened. And now the meme is Miami will pay. Whatever's happened, you know, whatever tough times Pred might be going through, Miami are going to pay for it, and, you know, they got slapped around again. Thought it was funny as well, all the OpTic guys tweeted within about 30 seconds of each other, you know, the Pred tweet, the Dashy tweet, the Shotzzy and the Kenny tweet, and obviously a clean series result. Pred, by the way, now is averaging a 1.35 against Miami since that 3-0 loss. So in all the series they've played since stage 1, so Major 1, I think Major 2 maybe, Major 3 qualifiers, Major 3, now Major 4 qualifiers. All of those games is averaging near on a 1.4, and as Purge says, tough match to come into. So fair play to Purge, and I'm guessing Vikul will be back next weekend. But, you know, not a pretty scoreboard, Marrow, or whatever Zuma's going to say this evening. Having a look at this one. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing to even say really anymore. ReeaL had the poorest series statistically and individually, but it's maybe expected when you're playing OpTic, the reigning champions, and you're in a team that is not the environment that you would have necessarily liked. So lots to talk about tomorrow. Of course, we'll talk about the Ravens New York series as well. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Solid right now, lives on this side, but it takes one good break here from Heretics to try and find something. they're not going to have a lot of time to get it, and OpTic already celebrating early. They've enjoyed this matchup ever since their first time they've met, and now they just have to clutch the round on defense with a cruise missile in hand. It's going to force these players into cafe, but someone going to get caught. MettalZ and ReeaL have to bite the bullet. Shout out to the extra explosive Radius and Pred. Stamp on the game, 21-10. Pred, for him, you expect nothing less. How do you not assassinate there? I mean, you would